fashion and clothing and things like that, it really matters how you. It's a message, right? It's a form of expression. Here we go. We're starting now. Anyway,
We're live. So you have a new brand. Is it a new brand coach? Is she coaching you on style?
no,
Or?
this is all personal style. This is like when Dad goes out to in public. What do I need him to look like? She's good. I mean, she has an eye for it, and it's pretty fun to play with it. I mean, a lot of it is like, what kind of brand do you want to be? And so I think it's really useful from like a working from home standpoint. And let's bring this in, then we'll start this officially. I like having outfit changes signify different stages of being, especially when you're working from home, because the transition from here to the next room isn't necessarily even that great. So I will consciously go through 2 different outfit changes each evening to signify the different levels of my transition from work to completely being at home.
That's cool. I guess I naturally, I have home clothes and work clothes, even though I'm working from home. Yeah, right. That's true. I think we're live, John.
We're live. All right. Well, welcome everyone officially to This is the Coaching to Flourish podcast. I am your host, John Andrew Williams. I am here with Raj Anderson. How are you doing today, Raj?
I'm really good, John. Really good. I'm super excited. I was chatting to Ashley just before this as well, and I'm going off on a retreat next week to Sedona, and I'm just going with women that I don't know. I'm going to the Red Rocks just to be me as not a trainer, not a coach, a facilitator. And I think the message we were looking at was that for me, is you can't serve from an empty vessel. So I need to go and recharge.
We love Sedona. So before we landed here in Hood River, we spent 15 months in a fifth wheel, a 35-foot fifth wheel that we attached on the back of our truck. I didn't grow up driving trucks, but I got one, and one of my buddies from high school said, I knew you would. It's like, I knew you'd get a truck eventually. Anyway, so we drove this thing. Sedona, we stayed there for for weeks. It was lovely. It was one of our favorite places. And the shopping there is exquisite, so you're gonna enjoy.
Well, I've not been, so I'm looking forward to it. So it's gonna be good stuff. I've got some good questions for you, John, today. So I'm going to start with the first one, and I'm excited to see what your perspective on this is. So this question came in, and it's, I'm 16 and I want to become a coach. Are there any age restrictions?
No. I'm going to take out my headphones here too. There are no age restrictions. And I just was talking to a Moise about this too. So my daughter, Pluma, she's 14. And she's thinking about getting coach trained. And so I'm thinking about doing a high school student only coach training with Paloma being one of the people in there. So we'll see. So I don't want to like product announce, and I've made promises to not add another thing to the list, but we're looking at maybe starting this summer.
This is perfect timing.
I know, right? And putting on a high school student only, but I mean, literally, we just had this conversation 3 days ago. And because I was thinking, well, what if I just put Paloma on one of our usual, one of our other coach trainings that we offer with adults? And that didn't seem like something that I think it would be problematic in some ways. But yeah, we're going to do it.
So that's really exciting. So this person can look out for that program. What else would you suggest could help them to prepare?
Nothing. Just take the course and just read it. I think we have trained high school student before. There have been people who've mostly seniors, people who were either turning 18 or about to turn 18. Or had just turned 18 in the training, and it worked well. It was heartening to see the other participants ask questions of his name was Andrew. Ask Andrew questions, and to like as if he were almost like an expert in student, studenting, but this is also a student that I worked with as a coach for a while, so he was used to it from the client standpoint. So I think that's, if anything, it's like go and get some coaching sessions. Experience it first from the client. That's how I got into it. I experienced it from a client standpoint and thought, this is amazing. This will change people's lives. I think a lot of people who do take coach training have never actually been a client. Yeah, it's probably the best way to do it. And people are always looking for practice clients. So if you need a coach and you're willing to work with a practice client, we have, we can make that happen. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the only other point I wanted to add. I think for me, it's a really important part of the experience. That's what got me into coaching, having experience coaching myself. And I still have coaching. You and I have talked about that. I think that actually enhances your own skill set, your experience as a coach, doesn't it? When you have been a client as well.
Yeah. And it's been a dream. I have to say, it was always the intention to eventually train high school students to be coaches. I thought because this is the training that I would have wanted if I were in high school. It really would have helped. And it's not just help a little bit, it would have helped immensely to be trained in, because, okay, so when you're receiving the coaching, it's amazing. That helps. And I think every coach needs to have a coach. It's just part of the deal of coaching, in being a professional. And one of the best ways to learn something is to get trained in it, to be able to deliver coaching to other young people. Now, I floated this idea to a couple school districts. The pushback was fascinating. Parents pushed back on this and they said, we don't want our child, why would we want our child spending time to help another child when they don't even have time to do their own homework or to do their activities, or they need to be getting ready for their own college. Why are they spending time helping others? Seriously, I received this feedback. And I felt crestfallen, and I thought this wasn't something that I foresaw. It didn't make sense to me. And at the time, I just let it go. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to focus on this. And now I might not hear that feedback. It could be a very different story. And there are some people still in that lack mentality where if I'm spending my time and energy helping someone else, that means I have less. And that's simply not the case. Oh yeah, I could get started. I've been reading, lately on my list is Seth Godin's Linchpin. Rereading this, it's got me fired up. And the idea, from a lack mentality to a called abundant mentality, or an artist mentality, or Godin's Linchpin idea, or words that he's putting on it, is that there's a fundamental shift when we ask ourselves not what we can get, but how much art can we give? And it's art. How much caring, how much moving of emotion are we able to transport through the work that we do? And that hit home for me, was thinking that for me, and what made coaching feel like it shifted for me, was it was a different way to exchange emotion between two people. And that's what the young people need. It's like we need to equip them with these things. And we have this. We have the program. We have the trainers. We've been doing it for 15 years. Not yet 15, like 12 years, but.
And I just want to let the audience know, John does not know the questions beforehand. So this is just magic happening right here that I selected that question to ask you. Couldn't have planned it better if we'd actually wanted to.
Well, thank you, Raj. This has been on my mind. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I do love the spontaneity of it. I like it. I feel like I love a good Q&A, and I also wanted to have other things too. I'll stop.
I'm thinking about what you said as well, kind of things, the energy changes when you think about what you can give versus what you can get. So how does that apply to coaches and their mindset going into a coaching session?
I felt lucky to I felt very lucky to have clients, and for a couple of reasons. One, early on, I gave a presentation. It was really poor, but I still got a client from that presentation. And that one client, I felt like when I was when I was coaching and delivering coaching, it definitely felt to me like I was being able to provide a similar experience of insight, of excitement, of hope, of learning that I experienced as a client as well. So that that feeling each client session was so motivating for me to do it again. And I I realized very quickly that if I wanted to make this happen, I needed to be able to be financially sustainable. But the idea of asking for money, I mean, a lot of times the people who have the heart to help in coaching in this way, like we'll call it the romantic side of us, the side of us that wants to help humanity. That doesn't often go well with like we'll call it the science part, or the business part, the logistical part. And while at the same time I was establishing my coaching practice, I got involved in Southern Oregon to try to bring a food co-op to Southern Oregon, into to Medford, where we were living. And there was one in Ashland, and I got involved in this. And I was at the same time building my coaching practice and figuring out all these things and reading all these business books. And we brought in a consultant who looked at the six of us trying to establish this food co-op in Southern Oregon. He said, "This is not going to work. Basically, you have six romantics, and there's no one in the building. There's no one here operating this who is going to think and roll up their sleeves like a business person. We're all just dreaming." And I think a lot of coaches, when they get into in any entrepreneur, there has to be an element of dreaming. There has to be a dream, a vision, something that we're going for. For me, it's every teacher trained as an academic life coach, and eventually every student receiving this is part of your like human basic training. Like every human being has human basic training. The executive world is really, I feel like, is a driver of coaching. So is wellness. Like it all, there's a coaching ecosystem here. So all of this was happening in Southern Oregon. I was in this world of all these ideas swirling around in business wise, and then I realized if I want to make it as a coach, if I'm really after this large vision of societal change, what are the steps in between? Like what does this look like on a macro level? Then what does it look like on a micro level? And what's the bridge between those two? I used a lot of what I learned from Latin and from teaching to think of, to basically parse it out and to think, okay, if this were a grammar problem, what's the noun? What's the verb? How do they match? What's it look like? What's the gerundive? All these things. I mean, it was literally like a mess trying to figure out how this could fit together, what that bridge between the two might look like. But what became very clear is that I needed to make sure that I could establish myself, and financially, and from this position, you as a coach, taking doing the emotional work of taking those steps to build your coaching practice, it's not for your sake. You're becoming financially sustainable for the sake of the mission, for the sake of the field, for the sake of humanity. Like humanity needs financially sustainable coaches in order to cultivate this expertise so that we as human beings have coaching capacity. So from this perspective, it's almost as if you've received this training, if you know this, it's not enough for you to say, okay, like I need to, I want to build my coaching practice for me. That is a part of it. On a larger level, it's you almost have a responsibility to be financially sustainable in order to continue doing this work. In that, I felt it. And I felt I had a responsibility to hug that romantic self and also develop that business self, the self that is like can package something in a way that people will like and appreciate. And I mean, I have whole ideas on this, but I mean that shift is fundamental. And it's also like look what, like, let's say every single, it can go on, but let's say every single person, like, what we're really competing against as coaches, we're not competing against other coaches. We're really competing against indifference, where there are way more people in the world than we could ever possibly coach. I mean, you really can only have maybe 40, 50 people in your full-time client base, and that's it. You're only after 40, 50 people. So from that standpoint, it's as much as you can network, help other coaches find clients, just promote the field of coaching, and you will get clients. And that's essentially what I did.
And there's that abundance mindset right there, isn't it? Often new coaches, I do hear, that challenge of fear of charging, or I hear a lot, I would do this for free from people, which is fantastic. And yet it kind of speaks to what you're saying here, this responsibility of also bringing coaching out there, this real tangible thing into the world. And honestly, John, you couldn't be setting this up any better for me, because the next question, you sort of answered it, but I'm going to share the question with you anyway. What would you consider the single greatest point of failure or mistake that causes new coaches to fail in building their new business?
That's a great question. Okay. That's a great question. Oh, well, my own experience, we lived financially month to month for years. And we also had a 2-year-old at the time. So we were in it. And it was so helpful to have a support, like Moist and I were on the same page with this, where we felt like, yes, like we want to, like we believe in the larger mission, we believe in ourselves. There wasn't really a viable plan B. I didn't really think of not ever doing this or stopping. It just was more like there was almost an incessantness, almost obsession, almost with a positive vision. I know that there's an idea of like toxic positivity. This idea of like just keeping things positive and coding negative things and not feeling negative emotion. When I look back at that, I wonder, well, did we both agree to at different times to say, okay, for this hour, we just need to be positive, like, really work on gratitude. And because it's hard. I mean, I know what it's like to stare at money and have it feel like it's just a constant perspective workout to try to keep doing the work. And so I think from that standpoint, finding the support of people around you is key. And if that's not the case, then I think that's hard for people. I had a friend, a buddy, whose partner was not supportive of him trying to do something, go and be an entrepreneur and do this thing. He never did it. So I think that's one. That's probably the biggest one. And then the other one I see is, so it's worth to cultivating that, really doing the work to cultivate that mindfully, address it head on, because we're not doing this solo. The second thing I see is, from a pure business standpoint, is hesitancy to reach out and network. I mean, I think there's people want to help other people, but in each of these conversations does take energy. It's not like these conversations aren't Even now when people reach out and say, hey, I have this business idea, this is really great, this is good, I'm now I'm still conscious that, yeah, even if I have a 20-30 minute conversation, that's a lot of energy. There's the time in thinking about it beforehand, afterwards. So I think there's an honor and respect for the amount of energy that networking is going to take, and then making the investment to make that happen.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think I just wanted to speak to what you were saying earlier about, being the romanticizing it and then having that business head on, because you have to find that balance, don't you, when you are launching your business. And often I talk to coaches who also can get stuck in perfection and procrastination and everything needing to be a certain way or look a certain way before they can make that leap. And then that's that fear of failure, isn't it? And I think we've talked before. I mean, I made so many mistakes. I probably rebranded like 4 or 5 times. And as I've grown and evolved, 4 or 5 times, I think, and you grow and you evolve. And I think it's being able to be courageous, isn't it? And go for it, because we can get so stuck if we focus on that perfectionism. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was ever or have ever been called a perfectionist.
We know, John. You take the lead.
I think we had typos in our textbook for maybe like 8 years. So go figure. Like what are you going to do? I mean, I had a professor. Professor Vaflab, he was a saint working with me. He got so fed up with me and all the little things, especially when you're doing, you're looking at Latin and Greek and every little accent mark matters. And I mean, it was interesting. It was an interesting test of my skill sets in that way. But I think that there's no way, you don't want to, it doesn't need to be perfect at all. Like there are a few things in life that need to be absolutely perfect. Resumes, yes. Your resume needs to be perfect. Your landing page, yes. Your, some of the major things, yes. But some of the materials and things like that, I think, what I told people is, the way I framed it is, this is a new field. I'm doing what I can, and I'm going to continue to cultivate these materials over time, and I'm going to change these materials over time. So I think if there's something that is, you have to look at it like, what's the minimum viable thing that I could put out there that will still accomplish the job that it needs to accomplish? How can I package that and come up with a price in a way that I'm financially sustainable, can build what I need to build, and it's fair to the people who are taking it or buying it? And then when someone hires you to do something, you do whatever you can to respond to feedback, make it better, and you're in. Like I built the 2.0 basically by offering a pilot and then telling the people, hey, I'm 4 weeks ahead of curriculum development. Are you in? And 12 people said okay, knowing what was happening, full transparency. And I don't know of any other way to build a program other than to put that kind of external pressure on yourself. But you have to be clear about that external pressure too. So absolutely, if you say, look, I have a coaching program, I'm new, I have 10 sessions here, this is my price, this is what's going to be in the future, but in return, I could really use your help in helping connect me to other people in your life, not to hire me as a client so much, but other people who I could maybe network with and give another workshop, or like I need allies in that space. Like you can be transparent about that and people will love that. And it's totally appropriate to ask for different avenues or ways to help, reviews, all that kind of stuff when you're starting out. Asking for help is good. It's a sign of strength.
There's a great lesson here as well. I mean, typos or not, John, we have lessons to learn from John. You have a thriving business, you go for it, you're courageous. And I think more of us, it's about being brave and courageous. And I've learned a lot from you, John, because I used to be such a strict perfectionist around things. And I think just letting go but I've been, and I still do it sometimes, where I'm only a couple of weeks ahead or something in writing a program. And there's nothing that will build your resilience more or make you more courageous. You'll surprise yourself too. I've surprised myself again and again around what I already knew, what I thought I didn't know, but what I actually already knew. I can't believe how quickly the time goes, John. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
I know, me too. I know we're at the top. We're at the top of the hour, unless there are time zones where they're off 30 minutes and it's like the bottom of the hour. That's fun. Okay, so yeah, and so to wrap it all up, like in this sense is, I think what I've like a lens through which I've looked at this is, if you only have a month to influence 1,000 people, to help to add, if you have a month to add value to the lives of 1,000 people, adding value looks like helping them increase mindfulness, having a general awareness of emotion, helping them clarify their goals, helping them move forward on an action step. You put in the parameters. What step would you take? If you have 1,000 people, it's a question that disrupts your usual thinking of what you need to do in business wise, and then roll your sleeves up and at least take a step or two. And just so you know, I don't want to feel like I'm this like amazing like business guru. I have done well, and I've put in a ton of work, and I've things are going in good directions. But this is also like what my to-do list might sometimes look like, where it's just like a piece of paper you can't even see it. It's just like a piece of paper with scribble marks all over it. Like, it's not fancy, and I think that's part of the deal, is that you just get in there and you let it get messy, and then you can always clean it up. And there's no one that says, it needs to be perfect the first time around. In fact, when I try to make things perfect the first time around, I never do them. And then it's years later, 5 years later, I still have the same ideas on my to-do list. I'm like, am I really going to do that or not? Because it's starting to become a thing. So thanks, Raj. It's so much fun talking with you like this. I feel like it's like my own little, like, I don't know, my own, like, I get to like just blah, and I'm not used to it because I don't have a classroom anymore. I love teaching. Oh gosh. I love riffing. I feel like it's like playing jazz with ideas.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you, appreciate listening to you, and I enjoy this time, and I think I'm just taking away, just be imperfectly you. Keep it simple. I do loads of mind maps as well, so I don't have everything in these all structured plans. Sometimes you just got to play, haven't you? So thanks, John.
Raj, you're amazing. I appreciate you and your energy so much. And thank you for those listening to this Coaching to Flourish podcast. I have heard from people when I've hopped into classes that people are listening, we're engaged, and this audience, this work matters. And we have some more content coming your way. Thanks for watching.
See you soon. Bye.